Hey everybody, good morning. So, I told everybody I was going to get back to music as soon as I get done with these steps and stuff, but I got to tell you, this stuff is so interesting and the results are so extraordinary that I just keep diving deeper and deeper. So, thanks for joining us for Table Talk. Today is, what is today? June 18th, 2026. It's a Thursday. I have a job interview this morning. Right on. Let's get into this. This one might run over 10 minutes. Sorry, not sorry. Welcome back to Table Talk. I'm Chris. This is Caspian, who has apparently decided that today's topic, spiritual transformation and the narrow path to awakening, is way above his pay grade. Can't say I blame him. Most days it feels above mine too. So grab your coffee, pull up a chair, and let's get into it. Where you going? Today we're talking about psychic change. Sure can talk some shit, buddy. What is it, why it matters, and why, according to pretty much every spiritual teacher who ever lived, almost nobody actually does it. Spoiler alert, the wide gate is very comfortable. The narrow one requires actual work. Workity, work it. And as we'll discuss, Caspian has clearly chosen the wide gate. It leads directly to the couch. So I've got this beat up old index card. It's been in my notebook and on my refrigerator for a while. Coffee stain, a little rough around the edges, kind of like me. And on it is one of those quotes that sounds simple until you really sit with it and try it. Your beliefs become your thoughts become your words become your actions become your habits become your values, and your values become your destiny. Now, I've seen this attributed to Gandhi, Churchill, anonymous wise people on motivational posters in dentist offices everywhere. Wherever it came from, the truth of it is hard to argue with. Think about it in the context of what we do in the rooms of recovery. When we walked in, what were our beliefs? A lot of us believed we were hopeless, believed we were different from other people, believed that the substances or the behaviors were the only thing keeping us functional. Guilty. How can I possibly sit at a computer for 40 minutes without? And look at the chain. Those beliefs become thoughts. The thoughts became the words we said to ourselves and to others. The words justified the actions carved the habits calcified into what we valued, and that became our destiny, which for a lot of us was heading somewhere real dark, real fast. But here's the beautiful flip side. The same chain works in recovery. You change the belief, everything downstream can change. That's not a bumper sticker, folks. That's the whole ball game. I also wrote at the end of the card in blue pen because apparently I ran out of black. Something I'm still working on. Our will is our thoughts, and our life is our actions. Shout out to current sponsor, who shall remain anonymous. KH. I'm not totally sure what I meant when I wrote it, but I think it's pointing at the same thing everything else today is pointing at. That we are not passive passengers. The thoughts we entertain, the actions we take, that's where the real freedom is, or the real trap. Now, for those of us who came through the program, we've heard the phrase psychic change, right? Probably more times than we can count. But I want to talk about what it actually means because I think sometimes we hear it so often it stops landing. There's a place in the literature in the appendix on spiritual experiences. And if you haven't read the book by, oh, never mind. Don't go down rabbit holes, Chris. It clarifies things beautifully. The appendix on spiritual experience. It describes a psychic change as essentially a transformation in one's reaction to life, a change in personality, or the acquisition of a belief in a higher power. Not a mood shift, not a good week, a transformation in reaction to life. Reaction is the art of living, folks. Are you spokes or folks? Correct response is the art of living. So, anyways, the doctor's opinion, which some people skip right over to get to the stories, makes it even clearer. The doctor who helped shape the early literature said the phrase psychic change appears at least 3 times in that section alone. His view is essentially without an entire psychic change, there is very little hope of recovery. Not moderate hope, not diminished hope, very little. That's a strong statement. And it doesn't mean you have to have a burning bush moment. The appendix on spiritual experience is pretty careful to say that for most people, it happens gradually. An educational variety of spiritual experience. Not necessarily a sudden lightning bolt, but something has to shift. Not rearranged, shifted. There's a difference between moving furniture and renovating a house. I've moved a lot of furniture. Never done a full renovation. That's why I'm doing the deeper work, see? It's taken me about 25 years to get the 6 months I sit here with. I'm tired of it. Caspian, for the record, has never rearranged anything. He lies in exactly the same spot every day. Pretty sure he's spiritually settled, or possibly just a cat. Now, here's where things get interesting and where today's reading really hit me. I've been sitting with Emmett Foxes around the year. So on July 18th entry, it's called The Straight Gate. It comes from Matthew 7:13 and 14. Enter ye in at the straight gate, for wide is the gate and broad is the way that leadeth to destruction. And many there be which go in thereat. A lot of people travel it. Because straight is the gate and narrow is the way which leadeth unto life, and few there be that find it. Most folks don't want to do the work. Now, and this is important, straight doesn't mean straight as in a straight line. It means narrow, constricted, like the Strait of Gibraltar, a narrow passage between 2 bodies of water. Too much, too fast? Let me slow down. Jesus isn't saying take the straight road. He's saying take the hard, narrow, demanding one. Now, Emmett Fox's interpretation of this is remarkable. He says, and I'm paraphrasing, there is only one way under the sun by which a person can find real salvation in the true sense of the word. A radical and permanent change in consciousness, the way you think. That's it. Not rituals, not good behavior performed for appearances. A radical and permanent change in consciousness. And then Fox says something that I found really personally convicting. The changing of one's consciousness is really very hard work, calling for constant, unceasing vigilance and a breaking of mental habits. Constant, unceasing vigilance. You know what that sounds like to me? Sounds like step 11. It sounds like daily inventory. Sounds like the reason we don't just do the steps once and consider ourselves graduated. Because the ego, the old thinking, it does not go quietly. It files for appeals. It asks for a recount. It shows up in new clothes and pretends to be wisdom. But Fox also says, and this is the part I want you to hold on to, entering the straight gate is worth much more than whatever trouble or effort it may call for. And then this line stopped me cold. If you make a qualitative change in consciousness, which is what happens in prayer, then not only is the effect felt in every department of your life, It is with you through all eternity, for you never can lose it. Thieves cannot break in and steal. Thieves cannot break in and steal. No one can take your spiritual consciousness away from you. The landlord can't. Your past can't. Your worst days can't. Once you've got it, you really got it. And it stays. That's the narrow gate. Hard to walk through, but what's waiting on the other side doesn't rust. It doesn't expire, and nobody can repossess it. Word? Now, this brings me to the last piece. Yay! I want to touch on today because I got shit to do. And this is where I think it gets really honest. Why don't more people find the narrow path? My buddy Eckhart Tolle, in a different tradition but pointing at the same truth, talks about spiritual messengers, Buddha, Jesus, as humanity's early flowers, rare and precious. And he makes the observation that their message did not transform human behavior except in a small minority of people. That's not cynical, folks. That's just historically accurate. And it lines up with what Jesus said. Few find it. Now, in the rooms, we see this too, don't we? People come in, some leave and come back, some leave and don't come back, some stay but never really change. They just stop drinking or stop using without doing the inside work. And then there are the ones, you've seen them, who clearly changed fundamentally, where something got rearranged at the root level. What's the difference? Shout out to PF. He's like a little Buddha. I think Fox nails it. The wide gate is comfortable. It doesn't demand anything. It lets you keep your habits of mind intact. It lets you coast on the surface of spiritual life, learning the vocabulary, saying the prayers, going through the motions without ever actually breaking the mental habits that drive the bus. The narrow gate asks you to do the hard thing, change how you think, change what you believe at the level below the words. And here's the hook, because the hook brings you back, Blues Traveler. Tolle describes the wide gate essentially as living inside the ego, thinking, reacting, identifying with form. What is the broad road? Most people travel it their whole lives and never question it because it's all they've ever known. The narrow road is presence. It's the kind of honest inventory that shows you who you actually are, not who you've been telling yourself you are. It's prayer that changes you. It's not just asks for things. It's not just asks. It's consciousness that shifts, not mood, not behavior modification, consciousness. Closing. Let's land this baby. Here's my takeaway for what it's worth. The beliefs on that old coffee stand index card, they become the thoughts. The thoughts become the words become the actions become the habits become the values become the destiny. Which means if you want a different destiny, you go back to the source. You change the belief. That's the psychic change. That's the straight gate. That's what recovery at depth actually asks of us. It's hard. It's constant work. It requires unceasing vigilance, but nobody can take it from you once you've got it. And Caspian, wherever he is right now, is living proof that you can find your narrow path and then take a 4-hour nap on it. We should all be so lucky. Thanks for being at the table today. Keep coming back. Work, workity, work it.